Welcome back to another Out of Spec Reviews video. Does this place look familiar? It should. That's our MPG loop refilling station. And I am here with the Escape, the 2021 plug-in hybrid titanium top of the line, although it doesn't come in four-wheel drive. Escape. So let's see how this thing does with a 70 mile per hour standardized highway MPG loop, because it is a plug-in hybrid. You know, it's a hybrid, it should do pretty well, and we're expecting it to do well, but it's also plug-in. And the interesting thing about plug-ins is when they're on a road trip, the plug-in part really has nothing beneficial to add. In fact, it just adds some weight because it's a bigger battery than a standard hybrid. So let's see what it does, shall we? Quick tour of the car, and then we'll get going. Finished in rapid red with 18-inch wheels. I think 19s look better personally, but 225 width tires, so fairly efficient, I would say. Black interior with some strange tan accents on the seats, and then this really kind of gross fake wood right there. Otherwise, pretty much all black. Beautiful panoramic roof. That is an optional extra. So yeah, this is the titanium with the premium titanium package. And great car, honestly. Great usable space, good back seats, comfortable for adults even. Plenty of headroom, plenty of storage in the back. Open that trunk for you there. And yeah, this will be definitely an interesting test because I actually used to own an Escape, a titanium four-wheel drive, similar to this, just the prior generation. And it did not do that well on the highway. There's a battery under there. Kind of a strange place for it. 12-volt battery. Not the normal full-size battery. That is a 14.4 kilowatt-hour battery somewhere in the vehicle. But let's go get this filled up. I'll show you our filling procedures, and then we'll talk through our testing procedures. But I'm really curious to see how this does. Gas cap release button right here, which is kind of strange. But it is nice that it's now on the driver's side. My previous generation had it on the other side of the car, which was always frustrating. So we're gonna get this thing filled up here. Go. Card not read. Please try again. So we fill it, pull it up full bore, gas going in, nice color match on these, by the way. And we'll see how long this takes. Shouldn't take too long because it had 3/4 of a tank and it's a small gas tank. More on that later. And after 30 seconds, you will do this. And that is full as soon as it cuts off. So time to get this puppy on the road. Before I get it fired up here, let me explain something. I'll start it without the actual engine. We are doing this with an empty battery, 0%, 0 electric mile range, because like I said, that is how most people would experience it, like on the highway. For example, road trips. Most people look into these videos to find out the actual highway MPG for a road trip, because that's what's important. So going into settings here. Yep, vehicle, actually not a big fan of the Sync 3 system, by the way. Of course, it's their previous one. Yeah, 0% on the battery, 0 there, that's okay. All right, getting it fired up officially. There we go. So the engine still hasn't kicked on. Oh, there goes the heads-up display turning on there. Engine still hasn't kicked on, because even when the battery's fully drained, there's still a little bit of like hybrid capability. And I just did a reset on trip 2, so we'll use that to track our actual stats. And we'll basically do our MPG loop, which I think is like 57.5. There we go. Put it in drive, engine just fired up. So basically what we do is we leave this gas station here in Wellington, Colorado, gingerly drive to the highway, which is right next to the gas station, and we will take you on our standardized loop to see how it does at 70 miles per hour. So let's talk numbers. The EPA states this at 44 MPG city, 37 MPG highway. So that is kind of the goal here, 37 on the highway, which is actually the second time 37 has been the goal for this car. The actual plug-in hybrid component, so the part you can drive around in all electric, was also 37 miles, which I just completed, which is why the battery is dead. And did pretty well. Go check out that video, also on our channel. But I'm heading here to 25, which is right there. And just kind of gingerly following this fellow titanium owner. Nice Ford Edge. And there's the heads-up display for your reference. It's all right. It doesn't really bother me, and it's also not amazing. So, but let's just see how well this does. So we will gradually get up to speed, which with a CVT doesn't usually sound very gradual. It just kind of revs up and then holds those revs as you catch up with this actual speed. But the idea is to be right about 70 at the end of this merging on-ramp. So easy on the throttle, and just about there. And cruise control set at 70. So what we also do is we do a GPS verification to see that it is actually 70. So bear with me as I check that. Nice. So it looks like the GPS 70 is also indicated by Ford 70. So perfectly in sync. So basically all we do, sit on the highway for a while, go up to head towards Cheyenne, Wyoming. We don't make it all the way there. We turn around. It's about 7 miles into the Wyoming border, and then we head back. So the reason we do this in a loop style is to counteract any sort of elevation gain, which I think we gain a little bit of elevation going there, and then we go downhill a little bit coming back. It's still mostly flat overall, but it typically takes away anything from that, and also the wind. There's not much wind today, very light wind, but any wind that happens will be counteracted by the effective loop style of the test. So this will be interesting. I'll be keeping an eye on the trip counter to see exactly what the MPG rating will be by the end of this. And it should be interesting. And let's talk driver assist. So I have a lot of things in mind about this Escape, things I like and dislike. Really do like this screen right here. It's fantastic. And driver assist is also really quite good. It does, I don't know if you can tell, but the wheel is like slightly jerking every once in a while, even though I'm in a perfectly straight lane. So that's something interesting with how they calibrate the lane centering, because this is featured with the Ford Copilot 360 Active Assist Plus. I believe that's the full terminology. And yeah, it comes with basically the full suite of driver assistance. Not the official Blue Cruise like you'll find on Mach-E, for example, but still very useful for road trips. It seems to do quite well with lane centering, and I would say it doesn't instill confidence just with how much the wheel is actually doing minute jiggles. That's the technical term I'm going to make up for this moment. It's just kind of like rotating just slightly. But it's a good system. I wish it was like a capacitive steering wheel so you could just like have your hand touching it and it would register. But it is a torque input that tells the system that you're paying attention. And it requires very minimal torque, which I do appreciate. Otherwise, everything else is pretty standard. You got the rotary dial like in every other Ford nowadays. I do miss the shifter. I like that for my Escape. And the screen is fine, a little small. It's Sync 3, not Sync 4, so no wireless CarPlay. Not quite as nice to use, but still useful. Of course, heads-up display. Just the overall material feel is pretty cheap, I will say. Just plastic everywhere, fake wood. But you do have to keep in mind that this starts at like $30-something thousand. This one, as tested, is $43,000. So that's kind of on that verge of you could get something nicer. But so far, this seems to be a pretty efficient beast. So I'm excited to see how it does on the highway test because of that. Well, let's also talk powertrains for a second here. This has the CVT which, you know, CVT. The hybrid and the plug-in hybrid both have a 2.5 liter inline 4 combined with the hybrid components. So you do have, with this 221 horsepower, 155 pound-feet of torque, not great power, but again, it's not a huge car. It weighs less than a Model 3, even with this one being the plug-in hybrid. So it still gets out of its own way, but it's not exactly quick. I had the 2-liter turbo on mine, and that is of course still around. There's also a 1.5-liter turbo, so there's a variety of engine and drivetrain options along with the 4-wheel drive. That is the other thing. This cannot have 4-wheel drive, whereas the normal hybrid can. So that is another big differentiator, and I wonder, I don't really know why Ford doesn't allow 4-wheel drive with this, other than it could be a weight thing, it could be just the engineering. I'm not going to pretend like I'm smarter than their engineers, but this would be an easier and more complete package to recommend to a lot of people if it was 4-wheel drive, especially here in Colorado. That's a lot of people's first checkbox. They're like, I'm looking for a car, has to have all-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, something like that, which I debunk every day with daily driving a Miata in the winter. Anyways, this with front-wheel drive should be fine for most people, but not towing. Towing is only 1,500 pounds, whereas the 2-liter turbo with the tow package will give you 3,500 pounds. Still not a huge number, but definitely usable. Steering just, you know, the automatic steering just gave out because the lane disappeared for the on-ramp and it didn't know what to do. Not a flawless system, but still pretty good. It's back now, so here we are. But we are sitting at right about 24.4 MPG average, which of course some of that was affected by me leaving the gas station. So after the 55, 60 miles round trip, that is usually counteracted. And so yeah, I don't know what I can expect, but we will calculate everything at the end and find out. All right, just getting to our turnaround spot, exit 7, which is the southernmost exit of Cheyenne. And yeah, we just kind of coast to a stop here. And sometimes we don't even have to stop with just how this exit is set up. Let's see. Typically not very busy here as well, which is nice. And yeah, it's one of those diverging diamonds. And with no one coming on the right, I don't even have to stop, which helps just kind of ease over the bridge, the overpass here, and then directly onto I-25 southbound, where we will wrap up the test. And then here we do the same sort of merging as we did earlier, easing up to 70 miles an hour, just in time to enter onto the highway. Wow, that just never gets old, these Colorado sunsets. And here we are, all clear. Resuming cruise control at 70. It looks like this guy is going just slightly faster, so yep, right back at 70 miles an hour. And we'll see how we do. So at the halfway point, I was doing 27.9 miles per gallon. So I think that hill that I was climbing when I first reported really affected the MPG. So I expect to see some major improvements going back down. At least I hope so, for the sake of the accuracy of how it really is in a real world condition. Coming up now on our exit to Wellington, Colorado. Just a little bit of daylight left, and there's the gas station right where I left it. And right now, looks like 33.9 is the final readout as according to the car. But we're of course going to have to test the actual pump and see what that tells us. And no one's coming, so I don't have to complete. Wow, beautiful sunset tonight. Beautiful day for a range test. There's a bolt down there at the charge point stations. Pulling in, so it's showing 34 MPG average. And I do want to make a clarification after reading through the Monroney again and some research a friend did that they don't actually, so the Escape Hybrid specifies 37 highway, 44 city, I think. This just says 40 combined, which is the same as the Escape Hybrid, but they don't specify actual city and highway separation. So it's possible that the city could be bigger and the highway could be a smaller number. But let's find out here. Just going right back to the exact same pump we were at before to make sure it's identical. And let's see how she did. But that's the final in-car reading, 34.1 MPG, 57.1 total miles, and 4.3 electric miles, which is expected. Even though the battery was completely dead when I started, you know, plug-in hybrids and hybrids in general will use elevation and regenerative braking downhill to try to gain a little bit of energy. So it's still an accurate road trip style readout, because that's what you could see if you did the same thing I just did, up to Wyoming and back. So let's go fill her up and calculate it all out. And that's 30 seconds. And we're done. 1.672 gallons. Time to do math. All right, so in the car, because it's starting to get really cold outside and the wind just picked up like crazy, which could have played a part in it. But the final number, according to the gas pump, was 30, or according to the car, was 30, what was it? 34.1, and the gas pump was 34.15. So 34.1 is the official number for the highway standardized loop test. Not as good as I was hoping or expecting, but then again, it's better than it used to be, better than the 2-liter turbo. So yeah, it's an interesting vehicle for that. I think if highway traveling is a common thing for you, the normal hybrid may be better. It could have been the extra weight from the 14.5-ish kilowatt hour battery. It's hard to know, but that's why we do these tests, to find out. Still decent gas mileage, especially for something that can be had for under 30 grand, with all the usable space. And really where this vehicle shines is the around town capabilities of a plug-in hybrid. So that's it. That's the efficiency for the plug-in hybrid 2021 Escape Titanium. And we'll see you all in another one very soon.